Welcome back, everybody. We are coming off one of the most brutal losses you will ever see in any of my series across the entire channel. One of the most brutal ways to bow out of the playoffs ever. Just to throw the pass to Cooper Kupp. He's hammered by Dre Greenlaw. It's tipped up for LaMichael Westerman to take it to the house. You're down by 7. You have a 4th and 5. You throw it to Puka Nacua, who has the first down. The refs don't think so. They don't even go and look at it a second time, and they give the ball right back to San Fran. They had one first down to get. They got it, and they walked away with a 24-17 win. And they would go on to win in the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens by a score of 22-21. And they are your reigning champions. A sickening way for year 4 to come to an end, but that is how things wrap up. We have a lot to get done today. Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp have not retired, but we do have some things to go over, especially with Cooper Kupp. He went down from X Factor to star dev despite having his best season in 4 or 5 years, and he had the most yards and touchdowns, I think, across the entire league in receiving. So for him to lose not only 1, but 2 dev traits seems like way too much. It makes no sense. Sure, he is 34, but he's coming off one of the best years of his career, and I'm putting him back to X Factor. I simply don't agree with the dev trait regression for him. That just does not line up. X Factor, it is. He does not deserve to lose that whatsoever. So he's going to get that back. Well, there's also one more thing to talk about. First, I have no idea if this matches up with what his previous X Factor was. I think it is the same with Double Me. He still does lose some overall attribute points, which makes sense because he is 34 years old. But if you look at our defense, Hassan Reddick is now an X Factor. And this makes me feel better about not re-signing Byron Young, because Young is also an X Factor, but he's going to be 29 years old next year. He's not going to be improving that much. Sure, the X Factor will help out and will prevent some of that regression, but for Hassan Reddick to get X Factor at the age of 32, coming off a 17-sack season, I think that is going to really help us out, and getting linebacker of the year was the reason why. But now let's talk about the offense. So we have Cooper Kupp, obviously, who has been good both in watching and simming. Trevor Alford has been kind of a mixed bag. He's had some good games, mostly while watching. He hasn't done the best in simming when he's been the number 2 receiver. Besides Cooper Kupp, Drew McDonald is decent in the game. Sometimes he just does not show up, but then in simming, he will sometimes have a pretty good day. Puka Nacua is kind of a similar story. So you have a 4-deep receiver group that you can really rely on. Now, hopefully Alford can really grow into a better player next year, because we're going to need him to be better in simming next year. But then on the ground, you've got Khalil Herbert, you've got Zach Evans, you've got Devon Shade, but you don't really have a true power back, and I think you need one because, frankly put, if you go back and look at all of our highlights from the goal line, we were really bad at the jumbo power sets, trying to put the ball in the end zone with inside the 5-yard line. And I think that's because you just don't have a power back on the team. I think Herbert's been very good as the elusive back, which fits our scheme here. But I think if you maybe go for a younger, better running back, and you also add a power back to that, then along with Zach Evans and maybe Devon Shade too, you've got a pretty good group of running backs on your offense that you can really rely on. Now, we kept the offensive line around for the next couple of seasons, for at the very least the next year. But now what about our scheme? I think we're due for a change on the offensive side of the ball. We use the Rams playbook all 4 years. It has been very inconsistent, and it also just does not match up with our new scheme with the vertical zone run. There's not really a good playbook to use for vertical zone run, except for like one playbook across the entire league that uses that. And I think it's this one. It's the vertical power run for Detroit. So the Lions playbook has vertical passing. I don't know if there's any other playbook that has vertical passing. So what the heck? Am I going to have to make a playbook for this? Because frankly put, there's not another team that has that scheme. So I guess you could do Buffalo, vertical passing, power running, but we have elusive blockers on this offensive line. Maybe you do multiple zone run and, you go power in zone. That does do consistently short passes, though. Maybe you do Chicago. I'm not really sure what playbook to do, to be honest with you. I just want to change it up. And I want to do some deep shots. Maybe you do the Vikings playbook, West Coast zone run, but you attack the middle of the field and you also pass deep. That sounds good to me. We would just try this out, see what happens. This isn't team as West Coast as the other one was for us. I think we can keep the defensive playbook as is and just hope that we bring in the right pieces for that, because the defense is by far the more consistent part of this team. Had a couple of big plays against the Niners, but really, they had a couple of really good drives in that game, and they were not the reason why we lost. So I think you make that playbook change, and now you go into the offseason and start to make your moves. I'm not going to fire a coordinator or our head coach. We're going to rock with who we have right now. So let's get right down to it. Their last chance to re-sign a couple of players. We're obviously going to accept the fifth-year options for Darius Richards and Quincy Basnight. So get the one for Richards. Pick up the one for Basnight, who's a superstar at this point in his career. Both guys are 24 years old. Really good defenders. For some reason, they are identical. They're actually not. We're going to let Byron Young walk. We're not going to franchise tag him. We're going to let John Johnson walk, as well as Drake Jackson, Warren McClendon, Taron Johnson, Chris Barnes, who was really good for us. I really want to bring him back, honestly. Let's try one more time. He doesn't want that much money. I think if you go to the team-friendly offer, it's a little bit higher than what I would have given him. What about the player-friendly offer? It's a lot more money. Wait, that's very... Where's the regular one? There's the regular one. There's neutral. Let's try the neutral option, because Barnes just is a playmaker, man. He's a great tackler. I mean, I think that he is a worthwhile part of this team, and he will extend his contract with us. Welcome back. Everybody else, like Zach Evans, I guess we can let him walk. He's not even intrigued to come back, so we can let him go. We're going to let Herbert walk as well. Yep. All right. Here we go. We're going in. And it looks like we're going to have about $52 million in cap room, so not a whole lot, but plenty enough to get a couple of deals done to fill in some holes on the team. You got A.J. Brown here to lead the free agent class, followed by Kyle Hamilton, Tyron Smith, Jake Elliott, so it could be an option at kicker for us with Graham Gano's retirement. There's also Drew Sanders, Chidobe Awuzie, Tyree Wilson could be a guy to go after in place of Byron Young. He has a scheme fit. Frankie Louvu, Younghoe Koo, another kicker option. And I like Younghoe Koo, and he was really good last year. So why not throw an offer his way immediately and just get our kicker in here and get some more points on the board for us next season. I'm also going to offer Tyree Wilson here because he had 10.5 sacks last year, his best season in the NFL. I think that's worth a 2-year deal to see what he can do alongside Hassan Reddick and Aaron Donald and Quincy Basnight. And better production than Byron Young for a cheaper contract than what Young wanted. I'll take it. So we'll throw an offer his way. And then I also saw DeForest Buckner here, and we need some better defensive line depth. And that sounds like a really good option to me, especially because Warren Terry is a very similar kind of a player as to Buckner. He can both pass rush and stop the run. Then talking about corners, I wanted to find somebody who is a bit better in man coverage than DJ Reed is, because Terry Hackett can only play man coverage. Reed can play both, but he's much better in zone than in man coverage. Obviously, our top corner, Darius Richards, is great in both. So I'm going to go after Chidobe Awuzie here because he is the best option in both man and zone for both of those. So we're going to make an offer his way. And then I wanted to take a look at running back options because obviously coming off of last year, you still need to have a power back on this team. And Herbert is getting older and he's like a 72 overall now. So I'm not sure he is good enough to be the starter. And he also got hurt in both years where he was our starter. So being somebody a bit more reliable, and Charbonnet here is just not it despite the high overall and the star depth trait. He's coming off the worst year of his career. Tank Bigsby is also not a viable option. So really the top options are not that good. And I'm definitely interested in bringing him back to be maybe a backup for us this next season, but definitely not as the starter. So we'll think about him. There's also Elijah Mitchell, who could be an option, but he's coming off at 3.5 per carry. He's only 1 year in his career, over 4 per carry. That's not going to cut it either. The options aren't that great, so our last resort is essentially Joe Mixon besides the draft, and there aren't good running backs available there, at least that I saw, that we could reasonably draft. And he's coming off, 4 straight years with 4+ per carry. Didn't get a lot of carries last year, but I think that's worth a contract to be our new starter, better overall than Herbert was at any point last season. And if you can bring him and Herbert both in, then maybe you can have a really good duo there. But we're going to wait on the Herbert offer. And Mixon does not accept yet, but we do sign Chidobe Awuzie, Tyree Wilson, Younghoe Koo, and DeForest Buckner. Really nice couple of guys to get you fill in pretty much 4 major spots that you knew you had to go after to address in this offseason. So we got the pass rusher with Wilson, we got the kicker with Koo, we got the defensive line depth with Buckner, and we've got the third corner with Awuzie. So really happy with these 3 selections, and now we can focus on the rest of our signings, I think. So good job there. Gonna try and get Mixon here in a moment. But we are going to offer Khalil Herbert a contract here. We'll give him a 1-year deal to come back as a backup option. Mixon does accept. We also bring in left end Colby Wooden because we need some more depth at left end. But we bring those guys in. We got Mixon as our new running back. And here are some of the other signings. A.J. Brown is going to head elsewhere. Hamilton goes to Tennessee alongside Tyron Smith. Drew Sanders to the Panthers. Frankie Louvu also to the Titans. The Buccaneers got Nwosu, Neal, and A.J. Brown. So those 2 teams are really shelling out. And Byron Young is heading to the Niners, who, of course, took us down in the NFC Championship game. So he's a traitor. Cool. And Hamilton was one of the best safety options in this class. All the others are worse than who we had last year. And so I think I might just be looking towards the draft at safety because these options aren't good enough for me. And Herbert does return. He does take that 1-year offer for less than $2 million. So good to have him here. And then talking about some private workouts real quick. I did use 2 of them on safeties and 1 on a power back in the draft who is supposed to go in the middle couple of rounds. But here's some more signings. Kyler Gordon signs with the Cardinals. Josh Downs to the Saints. Couple of guys over to Green Bay. New Orleans also brings in Calvin Ridley. Devin Bush also heads out. And Drake Jackson also heading to New Orleans. So a lot of moves from these NFC South teams. But then I wanted to focus on a different safety besides George Vance. So Vance is who I'm going after in the first round. But Byron Sherwood here is a fantastic athlete and could be a really good option to go after in the second round if we trade up. Because he's got just really good ratings across the board. The lowest is tackling in zone coverage. So I'm looking forward to that pick if we can get him. The Browns are the first team up. Here we go. We're not going to trade up just yet. We're going to wait until pick like 23 or 24 before we consider it. But the first overall pick is defensive tackle Derek Smith. He is going to be an absolutely generational talent. I am sure of it. He was an absolute machine. There's Jameel Watkins, taken by the Commanders, 2nd overall. The Dolphins at 3 take Ben Felix. Daniel Shields to the Broncos. The Vikings select Sergio Thomas with their 5th pick. At number 6, division rival Seattle takes Will Pollard. What? That was not supposed to happen. They just drafted the guy out of Oregon State. He's going to be playing for his home team pretty much. Next up are the Giants. They select Jamie Horn. And I got the Colts. They take Jonathan Brackett, a wide receiver. They did lose Josh Downs to free agency. The Eagles go defense and take Jordan Cartwright. The Jets are supposed to go safety, and they do with Damian Burnett. Packers next up, they go Akeem Mobley out of Illinois. The Titans select right tackle Tony Cook. Next up, the Cardinals. They select Quentin Clifton out of Miami, a wide receiver. Then the Texans. They'll take Cassius Goodrich, another one of those top defensive tackles. Bernard Pickett to Chicago. The Saints will take wide receiver Eldon Edwards. Handful of those guys going here at the top 20. Ernest Venable out of Ole Miss goes to Las Vegas. The Patriots select corner Deontay Smith. They love their corners over there in New England. The Bengals will take linebacker Demetrius Sweet out of TCU. All right, now we're going to submit about 3 picks and see where things are at. There goes tight end Darryl Spain out of Washington State. Chargers will select right tackle Jesse Young. This is the last pick we're going to send before we trade up. They will select wide receiver Deontay Easton. And now we can trade up here if we feel it's necessary. Not quite, but about a 4th in 2 years. They say yes. We have traded up, and now we're going to draft the new starting strong safety. Maybe we'll play at free safety, who knows? We're drafting a new safety today, and his name is George Vance. Welcome to Los Angeles. Hitting dev, 89 speed, 85 jumping. Really good athletes. I can't wait to see this guy play. A reminder on his skills. Be catching, finesse, hit power, kick return, man in zone coverage, a play rec and awareness. Be tackling. The stamina is the only concern, but I think he'll be alright. We make the trade, and now we can see what happens the rest of the first round before we try and trade up one more time. We get another safety. The Panthers take center Colby Graves. Tampa takes center Jeremy Jones. Both teams go offensive line, as do the Jaguars with Mario Martinez. The Chiefs take Brett Ogburn, another offensive lineman. And then goes safety Glenn Jennings. The Falcons on the clock after their trade back. They will select right tackle Daniel Greco. Steelers draft DeAndre Mentor out of Virginia Tech. The Ravens take corner Joshua Camp. And Niners have the last pick of the first round because they won the Super Bowl. And they select right guard Will Delos out of Wisconsin. Now we have the top 5-ish picks of the second round. We're going to sim through these first 5 or so picks, and then we'll see if we can trade up for Sherwood. But really, how far is he up the draft board? He's still got several guys in front of him. Eddie Page, who is a first-round talent. Okay. Maybe you go after him. He is there. B-zone coverage. He struggles to find the ball in the air, but he's a top fit for us, apparently. Good speed, elite jumping, really good athlete overall. A catching. C play rec, C pursuit. I don't know if I want 2 F stamina safeties. Yeah, I think I like Sherwood a lot better, so we'll sim the first handful of picks here, and then we'll try and trade up for Sherwood. Browns will take Clarence Fitzpatrick. There goes Kendrick Winston. I'm just going to go until Eddie Page goes, and then I'll trade up. There goes Justin Dickerson out of Oklahoma. I think we'll just keep going until we see Eddie Page go. There goes Mitch Toon, one of the free safeties. There goes Eddie Page. Okay. The Eagles are on the clock. I was unable to get a deal done here with Philly, so we're going to sim a few more picks because they weren't budging at all. They take Quan Hendricks. Who do the Jets want? And it was here at this very moment that I made a very costly mistake. I'm going to pause it right here. I chose advance to next user pick, and so that's exactly what happened. It sims us right to our next pick. We sim past the pick for Sherwood. I almost never misclick, but I did here, and we're not going to get Sherwood. He was drafted by somebody else. We'll see him later on in the draft recap. But into our next pick, here I was choosing between Lawrence Burns, who we use one of our private workouts on, as well as Carl Graham to add some even more defensive tackle depth. And I ended up going with Graham here just because add more to your defensive line depth. You get a young guy that can really just do it all. I mean, he's got A to C block shed. He's got A finesse moves and A to C power moves with the top 40-yard dash among all defensive tackles. Well-rounded player, 85 strength, 81 speed. I mean, well-rounded player. The injury is a concern, but I think he'll be all right. And then our next pick, this is our third pick of the draft. Trying to choose between Bernard Hurd, a safety, and Lawrence Burns, the free safety, who we used the private workout on. I wasn't a fan of Hurd because of the really low injury and stamina. His injury was really concerning. And Burns also has that same concern. But he does have really high speed, the best among all free safeties. He's a good overall athlete. He's got good zone coverage. See block shed, so I ended up going with him instead of Bernard Hurd. And we'll see if that pick pays off. And then we could finally go running back. I found Josh Davis here, projected undrafted. And we go after him for some power. 88 speed, 82 strength. And we'll see what he gets us. Well, the draft is over. We have trade offers for Tyree Wilson, which we're just going to ignore because we just signed him. But, man, I feel like I've really messed up accidentally simming to our next pick instead of trading up for Sherwood here because I'm pretty sure he's going to be kind of a beast. But I guess we'll see the draft recap here. And George Vance looks to be really damn good. 78 overall. They weren't lying to us. Hidden dev. Very well-rounded. 89 speed, 76 zone coverage, 75 man, 81 hit power, 92 acceleration, 77 play rec, good awareness. Block shed's not very good, but I'm not really worried about that. Might move him to free safety so he can play some zone coverage, but we'll see. He seems to be pretty damn good. 86 injury, 80 stamina, so it's really not that bad. He is 6'2", 219 with low speed. Maybe he's better fit at free safety. Who knows? We'll see. Then you got Carl Graham, who's a 70 overall, but also really well-rounded. 85 strength, 72 block shed, 68 power move, 75 finesse. He can really just do it all. No bad ratings whatsoever for him. He's got good playbook and good awareness as well. So I'm really happy with this pick too, despite what led up to it. So, good pick. 80 hit power. All right. Pretty solid pick right here. Also 22 years old, just like George Vance. Then you got Lawrence Burns, who's only a 66. Thought it would be worse. Zone coverage, obviously. 90 speed, 76 zone coverage, 63 man. 92 acceleration. I mean, could he start? He would be the weakest link by far on the defense if he does start. I'm not sure he's good enough to be there yet. He's only got 58 tackling, dude. What? Yeah, he can't start right now. Not at all. And our last pick was Josh Davis. It was actually a 70 overall. I'm actually pretty happy with this selection. 76 break tackle, 88 speed, 83 stiff arm, 86 trucking, 86 carrying, 82 strength. We needed more of this, and he will get a lot of playing time as our power back. Welcome to the team, Josh. So a small draft class, only 4 players, but what about the rest of the league? Especially, we got to see where Byron Sherwood went. But as we thought, Derek Smith is an absolute machine. 85 overall out of college. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Thank God he is in the other conference. I do not want to see this guy ever. Emil Watkins was a 74. Felix a 77. Pollard a 73. And he has hidden dev. All right. And you had Jamie Horn, 75. Jonathan Brackett, 76. Kari was a 78, so one of the best players in the entire draft goes to Philly. Really solid first round here, honestly, across the board. Vance was one of the best picks in the draft. Thank God we found him. Jennings was a 75. We know that. Joshua Kent was a 73. All right. Jaden Smith, who I thought was pretty good, as a 74. Eddie Page was a 75. So he would have been a really good pickup to get. Eric Rayford was a 74. So there were some pretty good safeties here in the draft besides the guy that we got. Good to know. Marvin Campbell was a 73. Sure was a 78. You're kidding me. No. I screwed it up so bad. He didn't even go until pick 22 in the second round. I screwed that up so bad. Wow. That is... Oh, that hurts the soul, man. That hurts the soul so bad. Another hybrid safety with really good zone and man coverage. Damn, he's just a faster version of George Vance, essentially. That's what he is. And he's also hidden dev. Oh man, that could have been great for us. Instead, it's heartbreaking. It's my mistake. I have to own up to it. I have to deal with it. Simply put, here are your top players in the draft. By overall. Just curious, who are the top coverage players in the draft? Let's just take a look. Man coverage, top guy, Jordan Cartwright. Sherwood's in the top 10. Zone coverage, Eddie Page, Deontay Smith, Eric Rayford. All right. Lawrence Burns is also up there. So, Burns is one of the top coverage guys in the draft. Could be trained into a good player in another year or two, but I think we got to make a move here at the beginning of the year to acquire a new safety, because we did not address one of those two positions here in this offseason. All right, so as of right now, George Vance would be a 79 overall free safety and a 79 strong safety. I think maybe what you could do... Well, okay, let's just do this for now. Let's make him the strong safety for now. Put him over Quentin Lake. We'll move Lake to the backup spot there. Hackett can be the third guy there. We still have Jason Taylor on the roster as the backup current free safety. We'll put Lawrence Burns up here too. Okay, so the Chargers have Darrell Stevenson, who is 26 years old, 1 year left on his rookie deal, and then they drafted Marvin Campbell this year They have plenty of free safeties on their roster. I don't know if I want to trade for the rookie, but do you go after Darrell Stevenson? Other hybrid guy. Only had 1 INT last year, 5 deflections, 2 tackles for loss, 60 total tackles. What are his ratings, though? He's got 73 zone, 80 man coverage, so probably move him to strong safety instead. But he is smaller, so he does fit the free safety archetype. He just needs better zone coverage. I think I'm going to find somebody better. Why would the Giants draft Mitch Toon at 75 overall in the first round, head in dev, if they weren't trying to get rid of Xavier McKinney? Maybe this is the guy we go after. 29 years old, 83 overall, 85 zone coverage. Went off here, he had 4 INTs, 1 deflection, 60 tackles. Maybe he's the guy. Maybe you try to get a deal done for him. And they need a quarterback, apparently. What do they think of Chad Bolton? I'm just curious. They don't really like him that much. Does not really move the needle. They would want to have a first-round pick from us for McKinney, along with 2 late-round picks. It's not that bad of a deal, to be honest with you. So I chose the counteroffer. This would be our pick in 2 years, not our first-round pick next season. So, and if you go to our picks, this would be our 2030 first-round pick. So actually in 2 years, not even next year, but in several seasons. So they wanted, I mean, this is not that bad of a deal, honestly. Give up first-round pick in 3 years, plus 2 late-round picks, and you get a guy that can help you win right now. I think we're going to do this. Welcome to Los Angeles, Xavier McKinney. So McKinney will slot in over Burns and Taylor. I'm probably going to give Burns the playing time behind him over Jason Taylor just because the playing time is important. But McKinney will slot in now as our new free safety. Going to have the rookie George Vance play strong safety. I think we're going to have a better secondary this year. I really, really do. I think the draft pick, the trade, and the signing of Awuzie will really improve this secondary. I think we're in store for a better defensive season than last year. Hopefully just more consistent. We're going to use some more of these points to open up the last weekly strategy focus player spot. All right, so we're going to go after all 4 rookies, obviously. George Vance, Josh Davis, Carl Graham, and Lawrence Burns. We're also going to give training to Jeff Reinhart and Trevor Offord. Reinhardt's not going to start the year at tight end because really he's only a higher overall because of his blocking. Parson is a much better guy that can reel in tough grabs. So we're going to start Parson at tight end this year. We're going to try and train Reinhardt up to a good level. But we're going to train the 4 rookies plus 2 of the rookies from last year. So that's the game plan. And don't forget that we just changed our playbook as well to the Minnesota Vikings playbook. So we're in store for a different look here on the offensive side of the ball. Hoping for some more high-octane stuff, some more deep shots, big plays, things like that, chunk plays. But aside from that, here is your new Rams lineup. On the offensive line, you're going to have Ronnie Stanley, Joel Bitonio, Zach McCoy, Steve Avila, and Jedrick Wills. At tight end, you'll have David Parson, Jeff Reinhart, and Jake Ferguson. At receiver, you'll have Cooper Kupp, Trevor Offord, Trumaine Donalds, and Puka Nacua as your top 4 with Randolph as the 5th receiver. At running back, you've got new signing Joe Mixon, followed by previous starter Khalil Herbert. Then you've got new rookie power back Josh Davis. And then you got Devon Shade behind those 3. At quarterback, you've got Damon Craig entering his 3rd year at an 85 overall, backed up by Chad Bolton and Alex Payton with George Kopp as the fullback. That is your offense. Very, very similar as to last season. All we did was just bring in a couple of new running backs. Otherwise, everything else is the exact same. besides the playbook. Then on the defensive side of the ball, here's what you got. You've got Xavier McKinney after the trade as your new free safety. You've got rookie strong safety George Vance starting in that position. You signed Tyree Wilson to be your starting left outside linebacker. He will rush off the edge. In the middle, you've got Kenneth Murray Jr. alongside Ernest Jones with Chris Barnes backing these two guys up. Then you got Quincy Basline off of the other edge, backed up by Joe Styles. At corner, you've got Darius Richards alongside DJ Reed and Chidobe Awuzie, a very revamped, high-octane, hopefully a lockdown secondary. You've got Aaron Donald will be at right end, but he is hurt, so he can't play there. But he will start at right end, backed up by Sam Williams. Then you'll have Reddick on the other side of him at left end, a new X-Factor addition to our defense. And then you'll have at defensive tackle, Warren Terry in his third year, 85 overall now. Really excited for his third year coming up. 95 strength, 90 blocks, and he's been good for us, especially last year when he played 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. It was a good run stopper, and it was a lot worse when he was out. So you've got him, but also you did sign DeForest Buckner to a 1-year deal. You also drafted Carl Graham. You still have Dante Childers too. So there's your defense. And then you all obviously have your kicker as Young Kua. Still going to add him to our depth chart here in a moment. And then specialists. Going to have Kupp as the slot receiver. Mixon as your third down back. Josh Davis, your power back. Awuzie, the slot corner. Baz Knights. Donald and Reddick will rush the pass rusher. Donald not here because he's hurt, obviously, so Warren Terry will get that job instead. And Murray as the sub linebacker. But that is your new lineup, folks. That's your new team coming into the 5th season, the 2027 season in this series. Wrap up, here is the schedule for the Rams. We open the season against the Cincinnati Bengals at home. And our first game against the Niners comes in week 3. We faced them 2 times in 3 weeks. Week 3 and week 5. We're going to watch at least one of those because we need revenge on Kyle Shanahan. But here's the rest of your schedule. Gonna have plenty of road games to end the year. 5 out of our last 7 games are on the road. Gotta make those ones count. Don't play the Seahawks until later in the season. We face the Browns week 18 with the 85 overall Derek Brown. So that'll be interesting. But should be a pretty tough schedule, I think, because we got the Bengals, who were pretty decent. The Ravens were really, really good. The Niners, I guess, are good now. The Lions are solid. The Jaguars were solid. The Panthers were pretty good. The Cowboys were good. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But that's our lineup here for year 5, everybody. Thanks for watching the offseason, and let me know your thoughts on the moves. I feel like you could have had 2 young safeties if you don't mess up the button clicking. I almost never mess up any button clicks like that, but I did today, and we could have had 2 elite young safeties that could have really grown together, but instead we get a better player in Xavier McKinney who can help us win immediately. So who knows? I think that the trade was the right move to make after the fuck up. But here we are, the Bengals. Start. I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching as always. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you guys there. Peace out.